Adaptations are awesome. Only they have the power of opening up a whole new world to people who may not be open to a certain medium. So you're not a fan of light novels. That's okay. The Monogatari series has an out-of-this-world anime adaptation as well as a beautiful manga being released, so pick your poison. Not a fan of Haruko Ichikawa's art style. Fine, I disagree severely, but fine. Studio Orange director Takahiko Kyogoku and a whole bunch of talented people got you covered. Adaptations get people talking, and as a consumer of so much media, whether it be anime, live action TV, or film, or music, etc., talking about the things I enjoy or talking to people about the things they enjoy is my favorite thing to do with media. Hence this terribly inconsistent YouTube channel. I'm sorry, by the way. For me, with Jujutsu Kaisen, it's kinda crazy. It's a manga I followed from the very beginning, and it's the first time I follow a series until the point where it gets an adaptation. So, seeing things go from fan translations on J-Minus Box to official translations on the Shonen Jump app to now seeing things in motion with voice actors and actresses and OST and opening and an ending, it's all kind of overwhelming. But I love it, and I love seeing the people around me love it too. You see, one thing I forgot to mention about adaptations is how they have the ability to blast the series into the fucking stratosphere. And just as soon as you think it's done picking up any sort of momentum, it just finds a way to keep on fucking going. But that's the best case scenario, of course. At worst, the adaptation does some irreversible damage, and those people who weren't willing to check out the source material before leave, forever saying how shit of a series you have. Despite those possibilities, though, for mangaka Gege Akutami, things are going pretty well, if I do say so myself. At the time of this video's release, 3 episodes of Jujutsu Kaisen have been released, and each time an episode airs, it feels like it's always sparking some type of discussion. Whether it be the varying first impressions that episode 1 left on many of the people experiencing this series for the first time, the ending in the second episode that left fans new and old absolutely stunned with how great it was, or just in general, people appreciating the commitment the staff have shown to the source material 3 episodes in. Not only sticking to it as much as they can, but doing what an anime adaptation is supposed to do and improving on it as well. For example, even the most minute thing gets at least some attention, and even though the character designs basically go against the rough and unique art style that Gege's manga has, you can still see some traces of that art style in things like the curses, the cursed energy, and the cursed techniques. And it's great to see that this consistency with the source material applies to the action as well. You see, Gege is a bit of a beast when it comes to drawing action sequences. You may not be a fan of their art style, but their paneling early on is fantastic and only improves as the series continues, making for some pretty amazing action sequences. Personally, I'd have to say that in the anime, my favorite cut so far has to be the Keiichiro Watanabe cut, but just specifically the first half. I'm not a big fan of this blurry thing MAPPA has going on in its action sequences. It happened during Watanabe's cut in the God of High School second episode also, which kinda makes sense, seeing as how this adaptation is under the constant supervision of Sung-Hoo Park, the same guy who directed and was responsible for a lot of those God of High School episodes. As a whole though, this cut by Koki Fujimoto, I believe, from episode 1 has to be my absolute favorite, and I've essentially been in love with this cut of Nobura ever since I saw it in the previews. Trust me, I get it, it's really easy to see that I'm a fan of what this staff is doing with animation, art, music, and so on, but I don't think you can really blame me. I mean, did you know that the opening performed by Eve directed and animated by the legendary Shingo Yamashita and a bunch of his buddies, was only directed by him because Gege Akutami requested for him to do so, and he was down. And that the ending, performed by Ali, the same band that brought you Wildside from the Beastars OP, was solo animated by Yuki Igarashi. I mean, that's just fucking insane. And while I'm trying to stay level-headed by acknowledging that we're just 3 episodes in and MAPPA has in the past kind of dropped the ball with their series halfway through, I can't help but appreciate the effort and attention to detail that's been going into this series so far. So shout out to you, the Jujutsu Kaisen team. Now, plot-wise, it's a completely different story. The Jujutsu Kaisen plot is quite simple. The idea of sorcerers exercising curses or spirits is nothing revolutionary by any means. And if you've been able to spot some connections from this Shonen Jump work to previous ones, don't be surprised. Gege wears their influences on their sleeve. They constantly mention how they love stuff like Evangelion and how they were inspired by stuff like Naruto, Bleach, and a lot of work done by Togashi. They specifically mention Yu Yu Hakusho and the Sensui arc a lot, and you can even see Togashi's influence in Gege's art style, which they've been pretty open about regarding how they tried to get as close to it as possible with their own work. So like I mentioned earlier, Jujutsu Kaisen doesn't really break any new boundaries, nor is it this deconstruction of shonen, but it doesn't have to be. Gege knows the story they're writing, and they do it pretty fucking well. Personally, I don't tend to fall in love with a series strictly based off its story. The whole concept of having Yuji chase down these fingers is cool, and I dug it when I first read it, but what gets me hooked on a series are its characters, interesting character dynamics, and the characters' reactions to the circumstances the story puts them in. And there's definitely a lot of that in Jujutsu Kaisen, which is why it was pretty shocking to me to see that some of the criticism that 2 of the episodes received had a lot to do with the characters those episodes focused on. So let's talk about them. Starting with episode 3, I'll give you the fact that Nobura's backstory was really mishandled. I mean, a lot of the info that anime onlys got of Nobura through her backstory was kinda just recently given to us manga readers too. To be precise, this here was the backstory we got in chapter 5. It's not even a full page, and I believe this sequence in the anime took about 30 seconds. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's great that they got why Nobura wants to be in Tokyo out of the way, but they definitely went in too deep with the Saori stuff. And that's fine, I actually really agree with that critique. But I won't stand Nobura slander just because she showed an emotion or two a little too quickly. So you gotta kind of understand that Nobura as a character was meant to go against your stereotypical female lead in shonen manga, and you'll get to see how and why she does that as the series continues. But personally, my favorite thing about her is how expressive she is, and sometimes, of course, that ends up working against her, as it allows for her roughness to seep through what most would consider a kawaii 2D exterior. But sometimes the opposite happens, and what you get is this beaten up girl showing nothing but concern for the people around her and what she stands for. She's not just strong, she's not just beautiful, she's everything she wants to be, and that's what makes Nobura Kugasaki Nobura Kugasaki. And it's what made her my favorite out of our trio very early on, and it's the reason why I still absolutely love her character almost 130 chapters in. Moving on to episode 1, it had a lot of discussion around it regarding Yuji as a main character and his motivation. So let me say it like this, and I'll try to keep it short. Yuji as a main character works for me, not only because we have the same interest in women, but also because the way he interprets the advice that is given to him by his grandpa right before he dies is constantly changing and being challenged. Say what you want about how convenient Grandpa's death was, or how convenient it was that he told Yuji to help others. At the end of the day, what Yuji gets from help others is completely up to him and the person he is at the time. And the way Yuji and his goals evolve as the series progresses is genuinely one of my favorite aspects of Jujutsu Kaisen. That, and in general, the way Gege handles loss. Loss is the one constant in Gege's work, at least in the ones I've been able to find and read. Whether it be the loss of a home, the loss of a loved one, a friend, a soulmate, or all of the above. I think Gege, through their work, really tries to push this idea that loss is always something you can grow from. Loss doesn't have to stifle you, it can push you forward. And again, I think Yuji is a prime example of not only how loss can severely change and test your point of view, but also how you can evolve through it and your interactions with others. Look, there's a lot more than meets the eye when it comes to these 4 characters sharing one fucking brain cell, and a lot more to the story revolving around 20 creepy fingers. So if you still had a lot of question marks around the series because of Yuji, Nobura's character, or something that completely went over my head, I'd encourage you to keep on watching and see how great Gege's writing can actually be. And if that's not enough, then at the very least, please stick around for the panda. Yo, I hope you enjoyed the video. I tried to include as much as I could while hopefully not making the video too long. If you did enjoy it, subscribe for more, and please interact with the video somehow. Leave a comment telling me what you thought about what I thought, or just simply leave a like. Doing that helps this video in that thing called the algorithm, and Lord knows it needs every bit of help it can get, so please do what you can. But yeah, apart from that, I hope you're all doing really well and staying safe. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you all soon. Later.